After returning from the sea. Seokjin, 13 June, year 22. After returning from the sea, we went back to our solitary lives. As if we had made a rule, no one called each other. We just vaguely assumed how the others were doing based on the graffiti we saw on the streets, the bright light of the gas station, and the piano sounds coming from the dilapidated building. The lodging on the beach was empty when I came back after failing to find Taeyong when he ran out that night. There was nothing except for a photo on the floor. In the photo, we were smiling together with the sea in the background. It had only been a few hours earlier, but it seemed like such a long time ago. Had we worked so hard and for so long for no reason? Were we destined to fall apart like this? I passed the gas station without stopping. We would meet again someday. We'd laugh together someday as we did in the photo. I'd gather enough courage to face myself someday, but today was not the time. Damp wind blew just like that day. At that moment, my phone rang as if sending me a warning. The phone sent reverberations to the photo hung on the rear view mirror. Hoseok's name appeared on the screen. Seokjin, Jungkook got into an accident that night. Jungkook, 13 June, year 22. I heard faint voices and opened my eyes to find Hoseok and Jimin gazing at me. Every time I blinked, their faces kept disappearing and appearing again. Are you hurt? Are you in pain? Jimin asked. I'm fine. I'm not hurt. It was a lie. It was a serious accident and I had almost died. The doctors kept warning the others for days that they should be prepared for the worst case scenario. I regained consciousness after 10 days and began to recuperate at an astonishing rate. You should have called us. What are we to you? Hoseok sounded mad. Hoseok, it's not that I began to talk but couldn't finish the sentence. As soon as I came to myself at the hospital, I thought of them. If I would have been able to think straight, I would have called them first. But my mind was blank and I was in pain. The sedative they gave me was so strong that reality, dreams, memories, and illusions all seemed to be knotted up in my head and were impossible to disentangle. The unbearable pain finally subsided, but the strange images that flashed before my eyes while suffering from fever and insomnia kept coming back. I wasn't sure whether those scenes had actually happened or they were just twisted nightmares triggered by severe pain. I couldn't trust my memory, but I still couldn't contact them. I didn't know what to say or even how to start talking. I just smiled at them, or I tried to smile at them. My face must have looked like it was all twisted up, and I was about to cry. Hoseok, 13 June, year 22. I walked out of the room because I felt tears welling up. Jungkook saying he was fine was heart-wrenching. I had just heard of Jungkook's accident that afternoon. The burger joint was packed with pedestrians taking shelter from the rain. Some of them were Jungkook's classmates. How come Jungkook doesn't show up anymore? I didn't ask this question for any particular reason. I had lost contact with all the others after returning from the sea, including Jungkook. Then, an unexpected answer came my way. Oh, he was in an accident, so he's been absent. An accident? Is he hurt badly? We don't know. He hasn't been to school for 20 days? I called him immediately, but Jungkook didn't answer. I was about to call again but decided to open our group chat instead. No new messages over the past 20 days. The last message was from when we were at the sea. Was it then? That night when we all parted and went back home. Was it that night? I left a message that Jungkook was badly hurt and that whatever everyone was up to, it was ridiculous not to know what had happened to him for over 20 days. The number next to my message didn't budge, meaning none of the others opened the chat to read my message. Did our days together mean nothing? Were we fair weather friends? I got mad at myself, mad for not contacting him earlier, mad for letting him return home alone. Jungkook was not a child, but he was the youngest. He was still just a student. I strolled up and down the hallway a few times and stopped in front of his room. Through the cracked door, I recognized Jungkook's face. He clearly wasn't fine. He looked as pale as a sheet. Suddenly, the image of Jungkook coming through the door of our empty hideout came into my mind. He was just in his third year of middle school. His naive face showed a sense of loss, as if he had realized something had come to an end. Did our existence remind him of that sense of loss? 4 of the others hadn't checked my message, the group chat, yet. I posted another message. This is disappointing. You? Dancing? When I stepped into the room, Jimin and Jungkook were talking about a dance crew. Jimin said it had only been about 2 weeks since he joined the crew and turned his head bashfully. That's right, you were a good dancer. We should all go and see you dance. Taeyong's call came through at that moment. What have you been doing? Why didn't you check my message earlier? I tried to sound angrier than I actually was. Taeyong stuttered in a croaky voice as if he had been crying. Taeyong, 13 June, year 22. How's Jungkook? That's all I could say. I wrapped up my shift at the convenience store and stepped onto the street to find puddles here and there. It had rained a few hours ago. I had noticed the rain when I turned my head to look out the glass door when one of the customers bought an umbrella. My face was reflected back to me in the puddle. My eyes filled with tears and my throat was choked. Hoseok said he was with Jungkook and Jungkook looked better than he thought. I dropped down. I'm okay. Hoseok must have handed his phone over to Jungkook. He seemed to be pretending that he was okay. How about you? Worry about yourself. My reply was curt without meaning to be. Jungkook laughed bashfully. I'm going over there right now. I couldn't keep my word. I got to the hospital in no time, ran up the stairs because I couldn't wait for the elevator, and darted down the hallway. I was just about to jump into Jungkook's room, but I froze there. I could hear voices through the cracked door. It was Namjoon. Seokjin was there too. I stepped back without realizing it. I'm always the same, Namjoon said. Indeed he was. He was just going on with his life. I dropped down on a bench in the hallway. People in patient uniforms walked by, and some were in tears. If someone asked, I must have answered the same, that I was always the same. That was the truth. I just went back and forth between my house and the convenience store. Dad was still drinking and making trouble from time to time. The indoor light was still dim, and the drain got blocked frequently. There was one change. The nightmare had stopped. The nightmare of Yoongi dying, Jungkook falling, and Hoseok in a frenzy of despair. Come to think of it, the nightmare must have stopped after the night we fought at the beach. It was replaced by another drain. Tears ran down Seokjin's face. Blue flower petals rolled on the asphalt street at night, were trampled down, and were tinted with someone's blood. I bent my steps. The elevator was coming up from the second basement floor. I looked back at the patient room. I wasn't ready to meet Seokjin and Namjoon.